To the Harbowl. That's right. We've got Jim Harbaugh versus John Harbaugh as the Baltimore Ravens travel to the Los Angeles Chargers for this Monday night football game. We'll be talking for the next hour plus as we lead into kickoff here on the Going for Two Live Network.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a Harbowl. Howdy, and how's it going, everyone? I'm Kyle Senner. I'm pretty ridiculous to be fair. We don't get Jim versus John very often. It's exciting, but Gladys, how are you doing tonight?
Good. Not ready for an hour plus, but good.
Oh, if this energy, yeah, I'll cut it down. I'll go back to normal. Sorry, but yeah, it's great to be here on a Monday. At least I always find it great to be here on a Monday. Gladys usually does too when I'm not completely psychotic. So apologies there.
No, it's always great to be here on a Monday. Awesome. It's always great to be
here. Yes, we got the Ravens and the Chargers tonight.
Yeah,
in Los Angeles.
Interesting
that the last two games are being played in the same stadium with Sunday Night Football in Los Angeles and then Monday Night Football in Los Angeles. I think it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know, field conditions, quality, but I don't run the NFL. I mean, to be fair, one of the big things that they've noticed with like all these, Friday game, Wednesday games, player safety is becoming less of a concern for the NFL when it comes to like travel times. If the money is big enough, then it trumps the safety.
Yeah, I hear that last night. I didn't see the game, of course, but I heard that there were more Eagles fans in the stadium than Rams fans. Like, I don't think the stadium is a home field advantage for either team, quite honestly. Either LA team, that is.
I think LA is just one of those cities. There's too many people from too many different places in LA.
So it's people.
Well, there also are just way too many people, right? But how many people like come to LA, right? Like they leave wherever they're from to come to LA, but they, if they grew up in Ohio but they moved to California, they're still going to cheer for the Bengals or Browns. Or if they're from Philly and they like, it feels like New York City has less of that. There's just so many people that you're just going to get so many New York fans. The teams have been there for so long, the fan bases are ingrained. With LA, I mean, neither team was in LA 7 years ago, right? Like 10 years ago, neither team was there. So like these teams don't necessarily have huge ingrained fan bases in Los Angeles specifically. I mean, it's probably more Raiders fans in LA than anything. They were the team that was there historically the longest. So I think that's just the problem, that they have to just stick with it. Like eventually you're going to, especially with the Rams having the success winning the Super Bowl early, you're eventually going to get fans that grew up in LA as Rams fans and as Chargers fans. They've been that way the whole time.
Yeah.
You can't catch up to the Lakers yet though, because that there's LA is a weird city where like UCLA and the Lakers, they take up so much space that like the football teams are less important.
Okay.
At least that's my interpretation. I've never been to LA. I have no idea what LA is like. That's a joke from Letterkenny. Apparently, everyone who's from LA or moves to LA and then you see them and they visit, they always just pronounce LA like, oh yeah, it's so great living in LA. That's the joke there. I'm sorry. I've continued to be ridiculous the whole time. How was your weekend? I'm sorry.
Good. I think. Today is Monday. I work at a bar in a movie house, and Wicked premiered this weekend, so it's all a blur. It's a blur. Wicked and Gladiator, actually, all a blur. Just lots of people dressed in green, pink, and in Gladiator uniforms all weekend.
Well, must have been a wicked weekend for some. Here. Yeah, any big NFL takeaways from this week's games, I guess, if you watched any?
No. There were some good games, actually. There were some really good games this weekend. There were some really surprising games. Will Levis played actually better than CJ Stroud, I would say, which shouldn't be a surprise because Stroud hasn't really been playing that well. Bryce Young, I thought, played well. I think Bryce Young is coming around.
Toe to toe with the best quarterback in the league, and
won. So Thomas Brown is obviously making, like, I messed up in DFS because I did not think Caleb Williams would be able to withstand a Brian Flores defense, and he showed up and showed out. Caleb Williams against Brian Flores was good. He was better than good. He was better than advertised. Thomas Brown is obviously a vast improvement over Shane Waldron, which again, low bar, probably not really saying much. But Williams, like Flores, that's so pissed by that. But and of course, Malik Neighbors should just like. Okay, here's the thing. I totally agree with everything Malik Neighbors said in his post game interview. However, one, stop chewing the fucking chewing gum when you're talking. You crazy, crazy kid. That is so ridiculous. It was so distracting. Stop it. And two, maybe you should keep those things in house. I don't know. You're a rookie, but I mean, and arguably not the best rookie wide receiver this year. So shh, quiet, and take the fucking gum out of your mouth. Oh,
And I think, I mean, Gerard Mayo said the same thing about his team. He's the head coach, right? But like, is this something that's
he's the
been talked about privately and it didn't work? So now you have to take it public because apparently talking about it privately hasn't made a difference. Right? Like that's the one thing.
okay.
If this is out of nowhere, I
A
agree with
rookie
you.
doesn't have to take anything like that's said
Sure.
privately out. Like Gerard Mayo is the head coach.
Rookie
He can
head
say
coach.
whatever the fuck he wants.
Well, it's true, but I mean, so could Neighbors in theory. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, but what does that say about the team? That like the rookie's the guy that's standing up, speaking out, and saying this is unacceptable. Like, is he like the culture of that team? Because the rest of that team culture seems like it's pretty bad. Or at the very least, it's winning isn't the priority. Putting trying your
Dexter
hardest
Lawrence
every game isn't.
said too. He didn't agree with it. Like but he said it without gum in his mouth, and he said it in a reasonable fashion. He just said this does not give us the best quarterback, which is true. I mean, arguably Tommy DeVito, you're skipping Drew Lock. Daniel Jones is gone. Did not give him the best quarterback. Dexter Lawrence said the same thing. But
Nathan Rourke was on this team in training camp. But yeah, I'll keep ranting about that. But to the point, yeah, clearly that decision's made for financial reasons, not for anything to do with quality of play. And it seems like it's like they're not even hiding it. So I guess the players seem to understand. They're not happy about it, but at least it's not like. Maybe they are. Maybe internally they are trying to sell that DeVito's the best. And I wonder if the players have just tuned out completely because you're saying that. Okay, don't lie to me. If you're just going to say, okay, this is a front office decision for financial purposes, it's out of the coach's hands, then like just say that, and we'll respect that. Like, yeah, that's where the decision is. But if you're trying to like sell as the DeVito's somehow way better than these other guys, I could see where the players are frustrated because like now you're just lying to me. Like, don't do that.
Well, they had this whole thing on ESPN, the ESPN Sunday show before the game, where Rex Ryan, Randy Moss, and Teddy Bruschi were talking about it. And Rex Ryan said, like, I guess the same thing happened to him when he was in Buffalo, or same thing happened to a player when he was in Buffalo, and he didn't agree with the call. And so he told him to fire him, and they did. But Bruschi and Moss said it's a financial decision. All the players know it's a financial decision, and they know Daniel Jones was a first-round pick. They know if you're doing that to them, I'm next, or I could be next. And Randy Moss made a good point. Why am I going to go out there? Like, I'm going to go out there and do my job, but one thing happens, I'm out. I mean, I've taken myself out of the game, or I'm not completely playing because you obviously don't care about winning anymore. This isn't about winning anymore. This is about the financial part of the game. And I'm about the financial part of the game too. And if I get hurt, my finances are gone. So I think there are a couple teams that you can say have probably thrown in the towel. And I think the Giants are rapidly becoming one of them if they aren't one right now. Because there's no way anyone believes that Tommy DeVito's a better player than, or makes that team better than the other two options that they have.
And to be fair, though, like having the best quarterback being Daniel Jones starting all year didn't do this good. Like this team is clearly not good enough, even with like, and I mean that's also Daniel Jones just is also probably isn't that good of a quarterback. Like they clearly need to upgrade a quarterback. Like that's the thing. Like this team isn't going to go anywhere if they don't have a good quarterback. Now they don't
But
even have
Nick
Daniel
Xavier-
Jones anymore, but that's probably not a bad thing. They were probably going to cut him next year.
No, I mean, wasn't Xavier Worthy a Giant before they gave him away?
Let him walk in free agency.
Yeah.
Green Bay, baby, 7 interceptions, leading the league.
Saquon
Packers MVP
Barkley.
so far, I think.
They play Daniel Jones. They don't play Saquon Barkley, who would just destroy.
Well, that was it. They needed to tag Jones, give Barkley the extension, and they did the opposite.
So
They gave
clearly, like
Jones-
making good decisions for their
Yep.
team is not like on the Giants' forefront.
I was listening to a podcast. It's called Best of Enemies. It's an NFC East podcast. There's a guy called George Carmi, who used to work with the Full Press Coverage. There's also a guy called James and a guy called Joe, James, and George.
Okay.
Joe is an Eagles fan, James is a Cowboys fan, and George is a Washington Commanders holder. And they all get together and they're talking about that. And to be fair, it sounds like James has been like, he's been pretty pessimistic all year on the Cowboys. Like a lot of Cowboys fans were like, "Oh yeah, we were the 2 seed last year. We're ready to win the Super Bowl." He's like, wouldn't be shocked if they missed the playoffs because they did nothing in free agency and was complaining about it. And he was also talking. He thinks like Jerry Jones is too scared to let go of Dak Prescott, but they like he almost wanted to like see Trey Lance in the preseason do well because they're scared to go with a rookie quarterback because he's too old to want to rebuild from scratch. So they feel like they've got Dak, they have to hang on to Dak, and they ride Dak until the end and they're not willing to do anything. It seems like that was a bit of the fear with the Giants. Daniel Jones is good enough. We haven't had a quarterback like after Eli Manning, we weren't sure what we're going to do. We think we found it, so we're just going to hang on to him for as long as we can and give him that extension immediately, only to realize, man, that was a huge mistake. So it's fear of that. I think that's what drove them. It's not making the best move. They were just too afraid to lose Daniel Jones. That seems like, I would think anyway from the outside. And Jamie's here. Hello, Jamie. Afraid you weren't going to show up. No, I'm just kidding. Always keep count on Jamie.
A good. So I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that the fear of losing Daniel Jones was greater than the fear of losing Saquon Barkley, even though during that playoff run that they had during Dable's first year was basically Saquon Barkley. Like Daniel Jones was the quarterback, but Saquon Barkley moved that team.
Jones struggled to even like account for 20 touchdowns for like any season he played, and so they were totally driven by Saquon.
So I'm gonna stick with my not making good choices.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I mean, when you look at what they lost, and Xavier Worthy maybe no one saw that coming, but Saquon you had to have seen coming. Like a healthy Saquon, you had to have seen coming. Xavier Worthy, like that he's so good this year.
He was a Pro Bowler. I don't know that he ever made an All-Pro list with the Giants, but it seemed like he was close to that level. But yeah, you could argue he's like a first-team All-Pro safety this year.
Yeah,
potential Defensive Player of the Year.
He should be in DPOI. He should be in that conversation anyway. I mean,
no, they didn't use Danny Dimes. They cut him instead, Jamie.
No, he's talking. Yeah, when they demoted him, he was used on the practice squad as a safety. That's what he's talking about.
I feel like they did that. Houston did that with Deshaun Watson the year he was sitting out.
Oh yeah.
Or the year before they traded him when he just didn't play, but he was on the Texans roster. That was like the first year like the lawsuits dropped and no one was really sure what was happening. So they kind of just said like just stay away from the team. Honestly, like we don't want you here. So when he was there for a few games in training camp, oh yeah, you could play third string safety. So it seems like that's how they treat the quarterback. It's you play third string safety if you're not starting.
Well, I mean,
compare Daniel Jones to Deshaun Watson.
Making good choices, not New York. Neither New York team should be known for that.
Is this actually true? Do they actually he actually has more yards than the Giants?
Yesterday.
Well, yesterday, sure. In one game. I just meant over the course of a whole season.
I don't know about
that. That would be insane. And it's believable because the Giants are that bad. How many yards have they accounted for? And they've accounted for 3,000 yards.
Yeah,
for a 1 or 2 game sample size, that's good. You said something that was gonna make me talk about Scott Fishbowl because I want to talk about Scott Fishbowl, but I forget.
Wait, what now?
But you said something earlier that it kind of made me think, oh yeah, I had that similar to that in Scott Fishbowl. But or yeah, I didn't start Caleb Williams in Scott Fishbowl.
Um,
And I
oh,
guess I maybe should have since he scored 27
I
points.
know.
I put
Again,
Drake May. Drake May got me 16, so it made up 11 points. So
again, why would you start Caleb Williams against Brian Flores defense? That's just, I mean, even logically speaking, statistically speaking, that should not have happened. He should not have been that good against the Flores defense. He just shouldn't have.
I
have
agree. I was totally fading most Bears. I mean, I was fading most Bears in the draft. Like, really, Jaden Daniels going so early in Scott Fishbowl because the rushing that Caleb kind of fell in the draft. Like, I think I got him in like the 6th round. It was like, okay,
Oh, really?
yeah. This is the only league I have him in because it was like the one league where he really like fell to a point where it was a super flex league, and it's like, man, it's the 6th round. Yeah, I'll take Caleb Williams. Sure, they could like me too.
Yeah, I don't have any Caleb Williams.
That was the one spot where it just happened to fall. So T. Higgins fell to the 9th round. That's why it's the only league I have T. Higgins in.
Now that's a bargain.
Yeah, Jeff took T. Higgins 3rd round in Scott Fishbowl. He wanted to complete his Bengal stack of Evan McPherson, which that's Jeff being generous, auctioning off the pick. A league mate won it and was like, yeah, I'm definitely making you take a kicker. And if you're going to take a Bengals kicker, you may as well stack him with Joe Burrow, which I think that was a good pick by Jeff. And then he went with T. Higgins the next round.
Healthy T. Higgins, that's a good stack. McPherson's having a little trouble, but
I almost didn't want to take him, but he was like so far past his ADP. I was looking at because like the Scott Fishbowl app on Fantasy Life now, you can see like where he's being taken in all the other Scott Fishbowl drafts, and like at that point, I believe I was the latest to take him, or like the 2nd latest. So I was like, man, it's ridiculous how far he's fallen. I guess I have to take him. But he sucks for the format because he's not a kick returner or punt returner. And that's where like the key of the format's been. I moved up in the playoffs. I think I started last week in the 500s. I'm now currently 540th with Derrick Henry still to play. So I could actually be even higher than that by the end of this week. So I say so far, good first round of the playoffs for me. I was, I think, 3rd or 4th in going for 2. I'm already 2nd. So I guess, sorry, Jamie, I guess it wasn't so great a week because he was in the top 200 and now he's behind me. That Hool is 109. So shout out to the Hool.
Nice.
Doing super well.
Yeah.
Kavonte Turpin got me 47.7 points. I kid you not, Gladys. He has outscored all my quarterbacks. Mahomes, Caleb Williams. He's my wide receiver 1. No, like even with T. Higgins and all the guys I've drafted, like Turpin's outscored them points per game by a wild. Tight ends, forget about it. Like he is smashing. Like I think if I points per game double up my 2 tight ends, I don't think you get what Turpin's scored. Farmers and Gesicki both got me about 11 points per game. Turpin's been scoring 24 points per game. He's literally like my number 5 best player on my team, and the only guys that are doing better is because I nailed pick rounds 2 through 5. Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Ken Walker, and it's just the running backs have been carrying my team all year. Kavonte Turpin's my next highest scoring player. Like that was a random shot in the like 15th, 16th round. There's like the return points. I wrote down who were all the kick returners, punt returners, and I was just kind of drafting based off that at that point. Are they a returner? Sure, I'll take Turpin. And I think week 1 he scored 30 points on my bench, and I was okay. He is never not in my starting lineup. I'm going to capture these 47 point weeks. So thank you, Kavonte Turpin, who might be the MVP of my team. Okay, so that's why Jamie's so low in the points, because at one point he was 12th. Because he had players play Thursday night. He's still got Lamar, Derrick Henry, and Justin Tucker. So Jamie definitely could move up too. So that's good. Glad to see you in there, Jamie. Want to be right there at the end with you. Hopefully, like how are you doing, Gladys? I guess I can.
I have no idea.
I will look that up now. So you're currently 1,733rd. So you are sitting outside the playoff spot by about 15 points. Do you have any players left?
Yeah, I have Henry.
Oh, nice.
And 2 Will Disley.
Oh,
okay. And that's it. Henry and Will Disley.
And I mean Henry, if he has a monster game, that'll definitely at least maybe get you over that cut line. I think you got to be top 1,500 to get through this week. So. But like I
do
said,
not
you're 15 points behind the cut line. Now people ahead of you might also be moving
have
up too,
players.
but
Yes,
like Derrick Henry um and Will Disley, like that should combine for 15 points. So they should at least put you in a position to maybe advance. So I'm rooting for you, pulling for you. Definitely pulling for Derrick Henry. I've got him in so many leagues, including Scott Fishbowl. So it's like 5 touchdowns. Let's go.
I have him in. I have him in several leagues. Derrick Henry and Brock Bowers were my two biggest acquisitions this year in the draft. Yeah, and
When the season started, Deontay Johnson was my most rostered player.
oh yeah.
That sucked. There were some nice weeks with the Panthers, funny enough. It's been awful since he's been on the Ravens. He's definitely been cut off some of those teams. Now, a few of those are dynasty teams. He's riding the bench the rest of the year. But yeah, there was some
You
optimism.
dropped him in Dynasty?
No, I haven't dropped him in those.
Oh,
But some of the
okay.
redraft leagues I took him in, I've
Oh, okay.
so
That makes more sense.
I think I still have him in maybe one redraft league, but it's like he's that last. If I need to pick up someone and drop someone, he's probably the guy getting dropped. So, yeah, that was not so great of an investment. Right now, I think it's Demarcus Robinson. I had him in a lot in Dynasty, but also been picking him up as guys got injured, and yeah. So
I didn't play him this week though. I don't think. Wait, who are they playing? The Ravens. No, I didn't play him last week against Eagles defense. I don't know if I played him this week or not. I don't know where I have him. I have him in something. I remember picking him up because I picked him up. Oh, that was just a
he did just play the. You're talking about Demarcus Robinson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did just play the Eagles this week.
Yeah, I didn't play him.
I think I've got him in about 6 leagues. I think I probably played him in about 4 of those. So he got a touchdown. He got like 8 points. There was in a lot of cases he was like the last flex guy, and it's like 8 points could be better, could be worse though. Good thing he got the touchdown, bailed out. That's all he got.
I know what Barkley got in Scott Fishbowl, 54 points, 54.20 points. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
That's maybe the biggest regret I have is I have 0 Saquon Barkley.
I have Saquon in a couple leagues, but the weird thing is, in any league that I have Saquon in, I have Derrick Henry too. I don't know how that happened. It just did. But I ended up getting both Saquon and Derrick.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, in the Zombie League, I have Saquon, Derrick, and Brock Bowers. Not even sure how.
That's your team. Those are your guys. Those are some good my guys to have. Better than Deontay Johnson and Demarcus Robinson. So they're good job, Gladys.
Well, I think it was a fluke. I think I think one of them dropped. Like Bowers was in a lot of the leagues I was in. For whatever reason, Bowers wasn't. There were like tight ends that went before him that probably like Laporta and McBride and Kelsey.
I mean, I would have taken all those guys ahead of Bowers, and that clearly was the wrong decision. So
I didn't take any.
Waiting for Bowers was the smartest play to make a tight end this year. So anyone who did that, kudos. And if you did that,
I don't think I waited for him. I think I took him.
That was the winning strategy at tight end.
I'm pretty sure I took him like 3rd round in most of the leagues that I have him in. Like I didn't wait for him.
I was gonna say like you probably could have even afforded to wait longer, but I mean. Like you're saying, like Laporta was almost like I saw leagues where Laporta was a 1st rounder.
Really?
14 team, non-tight end premium, half PPR league. He was the 107. It was wild.
Wow. I think in the Scott Fishbowl that I was in, I think that McBride went in the 1st round. McBride went in the 1st round, and then like
Laporta, Kelsey, and even Andrews in the 2nd round early for sure. That like those guys were all going.
Yeah, they got a run on them, and then
Kincaid too. Like all 5 of those guys were like I was regularly seeing them in top 3 rounds of drafts. So like even just waiting and getting Bowers as tight end 6 is a value. So yeah, kudos to you, Gladys. I had 1 dynasty share of Bowers. It was a 107 in a rookie draft. Traded him as part of a big trade with my co-host Brad for Malik Neighbors. We've been talking about it all year that he's going all in on Bowers, and that's the only shot I got to get Malik Neighbors, and so I was happy to do it.
1-on-1, you trade him straight up, Bowers for Neighbors.
I had to send Rashad White and got back Chase Brown, which at the time was viewed as okay. White's the more valuable one. Now that's swung. That alone might make it worth it. That getting Chase Brown there, but happy to get Neighbors, thinking that the times will be better for Neighbors as he gets a better
in dynasty for sure, depending on who their quarterback is.
And I think Brad's going to try and win that league. I think he's doing pretty well. I thought he was a top 2 seed. I think so. right now. So like Bowers is probably going to help him more than Neighbors, especially since it's a tight end premium league. So I think it'll probably work out win-win both sides.
Oh, wait, this isn't a dynasty league that I'm in.
Oh yeah, I didn't know for sure. I just mentioned Bowers. Like that was the
Oh.
one shot I had at Bowers, and I traded him away, and now I've got nothing. So like I'm seeing him go off as the dynasty tight end one, and thinking, okay, if I join any startups next year, maybe I do reach early on Bowers just to get the tight end one. But we'll see.
Well, who's going to be their quarterback now? O'Connell is AOC. I thought he was hurt too. Isn't AOC hurt? So it's Desmond.
Yeah,
Ritter?
he might come back from injury. It might be Desmond Ritter. Daniel Jones might sign with the Raiders.
Why would Daniel Jones sign with the Raiders?
Wants to play football. It figures he'll go to that team and they won't mess him around with like, oh, we're sitting here for injuries. They're probably going to see it. Okay, yeah, we've been so awful at quarterback this year. Daniel Jones the rest of the season. Like you get to sign because you get to start the rest of the year, and he'll be okay with that because
why wouldn't he go to the 49ers?
I mean, I guess is there risk that Purdy is out for the year?
He's had a second MRI on that shoulder.
Okay.
So
I mean, true. They could just shut the season down too. So, I mean, to be fair, why did they start Brandon Allen over Josh Dobbs? I was ranting about that on the Packers pod yesterday. Why has Brandon Allen been the backup the whole time? Oh, he knows the system. Isn't Josh Dobbs supposed to be like the smartest guy ever? Like, how arrogant is Shanahan to think that he can't know the system? He's been on the team all training camp all year. Like, we clearly seen him win games, and they were talking about it on the broadcast yesterday. Brady mentioned Brandon Allen hasn't played a game in 3 years. He broke his hand a couple weeks ago, or one of his fingers, so he had a splint on. Like, why was he out there? And I mean, he did score a touchdown. He made a couple nice passes to Kittle. Ultimately, though, it's like he wasn't really that good. I feel like Dobbs could have easily done better. Maybe he wouldn't have done better, but we've seen Dobbs do better, so there's potential of it. It doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, why was DeVito started over Drew Lock?
Well, clear financial reasons, right? Like, I don't think there's a financial reason to go with Brandon Allen over Dobbs. Does
Drew Lock have an injury clause too?
I think it's not that. I think it's playing time incentives. Every game he gets a bonus.
Oh,
that's how he structured his contract. So like anytime they play him, they paying him more money.
Oh.
So thought he was being slick, thinking if Jones gets benched, then they have to give me more. Now they're just saying, nah, we don't even want to pay you at all. We're just going to default to the other guy.
God, that sucks. If I were
but then you wonder why the Giants players are so angry and so angry publicly.
Yeah.
I think it's because of stuff like that. And I don't even know if it's on the coach, because this sounds like this is coming from ownership and the GM. Like, this is out of Daboll's hands. And I don't know if because of that, the players see that he's not in control, so he's lost the locker room, because if he can't even make the final decision, so why do we even care? Right? Like, there might be that aspect to it, and then does he get fired for that? Even though, like, I don't think it was Brian Daboll's idea to sign Jones to the extension. Like, you've screwed him because of that. So,
I mean, like, both New York teams are just total shit shows.
I just thought of something.
Okay.
If the Bills lose in the playoffs again, do they fire McDermott? And if Brian Daboll gets fired, do they make that Daboll-Allen reunion with Daboll as head coach?
I don't think they're going to fire McDermott even if they lose in the playoffs again.
You see, I don't think McDermott's that good. I think that would be a smart move. I think Daboll would actually be better for that. But
I don't think McDermott's that good either, but I don't think they're going to fire him.
He's going to win another division. Like, they're going to just stick with him because, for sure.
Yeah.
It seems like it, but I wonder if they lose the Chiefs again, are they just so frustrated, even if it's the AFC Championship game, that they just fire him on the spot? And if that's a rash decision, but it gets them Brian Daboll, it might be the right decision. So I don't know. I think McDermott's overrated as a coach. I know Dylan Schmittler. We've had him on the show before. I think he and I have done top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 coaches in the offseason at times. I didn't rank McDermott in the top 10. I think either of the last two seasons. You can easily name 10 coaches I'd rather have than Sean McDermott. And some might view that as like, oh, that's kind of a hot take, but I'm pretty comfortable.
10 out of 32, Sean McDermott. This year coaches?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't rank him in the top 10. I think there are clearly 10 coaches who are way better than he is.
I think whether you go just this year or just look at career total, like, he's good, But I also don't think like he has a very talented roster with the franchise QB, one of maybe the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the league. You figure like there should be more of a ceiling there, and feels like he hasn't hit it. Like you see what Kevin O'Connell's had to work with and how much success he's had. Like that clearly seems like he's doing a better coaching job.
I yeah, I mean McDermott isn't McDermott the one that like took over DC from Frazier, and then the next year Frazier just left or quit? That was Sean
Yeah,
McDermott,
I
right?
think Leslie Frazier was his defensive coordinator at one point. I
Yeah.
think you might be right on that.
Yeah, I don't. I, McDermott to me is that he's like a better Dennis Allen than Dennis Allen. Like he doesn't really
Yeah,
take.
that's amazing. I've never thought of that, but that's probably pretty accurate. So sorry.
So yeah, I don't. He's not one of my. Man, I if Tomlin wasn't the coach of the Steelers, I would probably still think he's a really good coach. But I could think of like 12 other coaches that I wouldn't mind would be coach of the Steelers, and McDermott never ever enters that thought. Like I would never. Ew, no,
Yeah, I know, right? Well, it's
yeah,
funny how clearly Justin Fields is better than both Trey Lance and Mac Jones. So the 49ers actually should have just taken Justin Fields and he'd
yeah.
still be the quarterback right now there. And like we'd never know who Brock Purdy is. I mean, Fields could have maybe got hurt too, right? But like it seems like he's clearly a level better than both those quarterbacks. So and the 49ers gave no consideration to it whatsoever. And they just lucked into Brock Purdy. Clearly, they have no idea what they're doing at quarterback. They just got super lucky and it feels
Yeah.
like they're gonna do what like we were saying about Dallas. They're gonna give that massive extension to Purdy because they've realized that they have no idea what they're doing. We've got this guy somehow. We cannot afford to lose him because if we lose him, we have no idea how to get another guy. Unless Kirk Cousins signs, like that type of veteran signs, right?
Uh,
So
yeah,
the
I
big
mean,
Brock
Kyle
Purdy extension is
Shanahan.
coming.
Kyle, I think Kyle Shanahan's overrated as a coach, as a head coach. And an offensive coordinator. I don't. You don't lose like you don't lose multiple leads like that and can be considered a good coach. Like he's twice. He's lost big leads in big games, and yeah, oh my God, he's such a great offensive mind. No, he's not. He has a really, really good players. Like he's had two of the top 15 yards after catch. George Kittle by far is like top three, if not the best
Oh,
tight
for
end
sure.
in the
That's
league.
he's just a
And
different animal in terms of his speed.
Debo,
Yeah.
before he got hurt, before this injury, before this year,
Mhm.
top yards after catch, wide receiver. I mean, he just has a really good CMC. I mean, come on. He had a really good, and it shows. Like he lost he lost CMC beginning of the year, which everyone knew wasn't going to play, and he kept hedging on that. And it's like the Mike McDaniel thing. It win with what you have. Like LaFleur's won with what he has. Win with what you have. If you can't win with what you have, how are you a really good coach? You're not a really good coach. You have really good players.
I also think
Not
this I sorry.
go ahead.
This idea of this Shanahan system has kind of been used against Brock Purdy when really, like none of the other quarterbacks that they had were as good as Brock Purdy. Clearly, Purdy is a level different. So if he's a system quarterback, he is the like upper echelon of it. Whereas, CJ Beathard didn't look this good. Like if it's this foolproof system, CJ Beathard should be just as good as Brock Purdy. He was a third round pick for Christ's sake. But no, like it's clearly like, and I think more than anything, less to diminish Shanahan, more to say like Brock Purdy's legit a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like the numbers he's putting up, he has a better touchdown percentage than Garoppolo ever did. And I'm using Garoppolo because he's probably the next best quarterback that Shanahan's had in San Francisco. Higher touchdown rate for Purdy. Like
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like 9% touchdown rate the past 2 seasons. It's down to 4%, which is like what you'd expect essentially. Maybe even a little lower than expected, but like for a career average, it's still like 5.8%. Like it's like where Mahomes and Lamar are. like Purdy's really good at that. Garoppolo is decent, but not that good. Yards per attempt, that's one of his strengths. I think one of the best things about him as a quarterback. Purdy's yards per attempt is better in just 31 starts for the 49ers. Sack rate, like talk about Purdy being like a mature quarterback that does the things Tom Brady does. He throws it away. He doesn't take sacks. That's Purdy. Part of it's ability to scramble as well. Garoppolo took a lot of sacks and made a lot of mistakes. So like even for a guy like Garoppolo who's been to a Super Bowl, which is maybe that's the pro Shanahan part of it. Garoppolo's not that great, yet he went to a Super Bowl maybe because that offense and that defense was so good. But clearly Purdy's showing there's another level to this. It's not just plug any quarterback, you get this elite play. That's who Purdy is. So again, I feel like making that excuse less about or that argument less about like diminishing Shanahan, but I do agree with you. I think he is a really good offensive mind. Remember last week we were talking about like Tomlin and the details? It
Yeah.
does seem like Shanahan drills that really well. Offensive line details. They tend not to take a lot of penalties. Like it's funny. Up until last week, they took a ton of penalties against the Packers. They missed a lot of tackles. Those are two things the 49ers typically haven't done. They've been well coached to the details. It does seem like, and this is I want to kind of transition to Thursday night a little bit, Gladys. Is this also maybe Tomlin's weakness? The in-game decisions sometimes aren't optimal. And I was listening to a Warren Sharp podcast, and he mentioned 5 mistakes Tomlin made in that game. But there was one that stood out to me. Remember that weird play late in the game where the Browns were stopped on 3rd down. They thought they were going to go for it on 4th, and then there was a penalty. They initially declined it, but then they pushed him back to 3rd and 5. And there was tons of time. And then the Steelers just burned a timeout for no reason. Once they decide, okay, it's 3rd and 5, Tomlin used a timeout. No clock going. Late in that game, because they kind of ran out of time, that second timeout, that other timeout would have been really nice to have. It seemed like, why did you use the timeout there? It made no sense. And like that's the thing I think that might be Tomlin's weakness, right? Just making mistakes in game coaching. He's still not perfect at it. And I wonder if that's Shanahan's weakness too. They're great coaches during the week of practice, preparation. They get these players ready. Sometimes in game, though, they almost get like, especially I think Shanahan gets almost too smart for himself and makes mistakes and like does things that he shouldn't do. And I think that's an example of what Tomlin did with that timeout as well.
Yeah, it was a curious decision. I'm not sure what he was thinking. Especially after they declined and then the whole penalty thing. I don't know. I mean,
It seemed like Tomlin was like even that was confused on what to do, right? Like I think he saw where they were and he thought, okay, maybe I should push them back for the field goal. And then his defense was more of a like a big man sort of 4th and 1 defense, and he realized, okay, I've got to make a substitution and change it to a 3rd and 5. But it felt like there was time to do that though, like especially since you're the team that's deciding. It's okay. We're going to go back on 3rd and 5. Like you feel like you'd be prepared for that. So that was weird.
It was a weird play. Does Dan think the game started already? I don't understand what he's saying.
No, I think it's his matchup, right? Like, so he's at Disney. He's up by 12. I have Lamar and Derwin versus Herbert. He just wants to know, like, do we think he's gonna win?
How am I looking?
Like, what are his chances of winning? I interpret that's his question.
Oh, okay.
He wants reassurances before he jumps off Space Mountain. Just up by 12, and you both have quarterbacks. Plus, you have the defensive back to kind of help you there. Like, I think you'd be pretty good. Like, I ranked Lamar as the QB1 this week, so I think Lamar will outscore Herbert. But just because I ranked him that way doesn't mean it's going to happen. I make tons of mistakes all the time. I'm like an NFL coach too. I probably make more mistakes than them.
I have both actually in different leagues, so I want them both to do extremely well.
So, do you remember how many leagues I'm in, Gladys?
How many?
18.
You're in 18 leagues?
And I checked. There's only one league I do not have a player playing tonight. I have tons of Ravens and Chargers player just littered across every roster. And I was kind of looking through, okay, I've got someone here. Then I kind of realized, man, there's one league where my roster's done, and the rest, every other league,
are you winning that one?
League. Sorry?
Are you winning that league?
What I've done, I don't think so, or I think I am winning, but they still have players left and they can catch up. I'm gonna check the score right now. No, you see, they still have players left, but they're already up by 20. So no.
I'm in what 4, 5, 6, 8 leagues, 10 leagues, not counting best ball, which I don't even know what's going on in best ball. And I have players playing in every league too, but like some are incidental players. Like I have defensive guys going tonight on a couple of leagues, the IDP leagues, and The only one I'm confident about is the one I have Lamar in, and the one I have Derrick Henry in, and I think I have Herbert in one. I know I have Herbert in one, but I think I'm down by like 20, 30 points in that one. And he doesn't have anyone going, but I don't
Yeah, you
know.
need a big game.
I think it's. You think what?
Well, you'll need a big game. Clearly.
Yeah, I don't think. I honestly, I'm going lower. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game at all.
Okay, well, I guess let's get to these picks. And Dan, I mean, I haven't seen any picks from you yet, so if you can send them in, let us know what you're picking.
Dude, he's in Space Mountain. He didn't care. I don't
anyway.
even. What is before I jump off Space Mountain? So, all Disney things are movies, right? All Disney rides are about movies.
I mean, I don't know if all of them are specifically about movies though. Like there might just be like a cool space. Maybe it's a Star Wars thing or a Star Trek.
Isn't Space Mountain a movie? That's a movie. I thought Rock.
Oh,
yeah.
Maybe it is a movie. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a movie that Rock was in, I think, with two kids.
Okay, so there you go. Then it's the ride off. Yeah, you're right. Never mind. Everything's a movie.
Huh. I think you should just jump. He didn't give his picks before he went. Come on, Dan.
No,
it's better than that.
I didn't see anything in the Twitter chat. I even gave some of my picks to encourage you guys to share, but no.
Like I said, last minute pick. I think this game's going to be just totally like it's their parents' 63rd anniversary today too. Aww. Neither of the parents are going to be at the game. Brother against brother. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't think in my head I think when I played against my sister in games, like no matter what game it was, she always knew my tendencies. I always knew her tendencies. And even if you thought you were going to do something different, you know what I mean? Your sister and brother, you know what the tendencies are. So
these defenses are going to be very well prepared for what these offenses were. Yeah. I'm always go lower. If the higher or lower is high enough, I'm always going lower. And like this is the highest we've had all year. This is the first time we've got over 50 on any of the Monday Night Football games. So it's a clear, easy lower for me as well.
Yeah, I'm going lower. I think it's going to be.
Do we give Dan the lower just so we have another consensus?
Yeah, we give Dan the lower.
That we also think will be easily hit. So that right now we're 4-6. We our consensus pick hit last week. We all took the Texans, and they covered the 7.5 point spread. So good job there.
Who did they play last week? Who did the Texans play last week?
Cowboys.
Oh fuck yeah.
Basically a bye week, right? But yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, shout out to me. I went 3 for 3. Shout out to the Canadian John Mechie. He hit every prop. He hit the over on his longest reception. He hit the over receiving yards. He hit the over on his catches. So it didn't matter which one I picked. I would have hit for any of them. I went with his receiving yards, but yeah.
John Mechie. Yeah. I think that. Yeah, there's no way. I mean, I guess there is a way. But yesterday, weren't 3 of the games that were like the Arizona-Seattle game was way lower than its predicted
total. That was
total.
like a 46.5 or 47.5.
Yeah, and they ended up being like, what, 23 points they scored together.
Total. So Jamie's saying Ravens 27, Chargers 23. That would be lower than the 50.5.
I'm telling you, lower. I'm going lower.
Yeah, so we're gonna
brother against brother, lower.
All right,
and I'm going with the older brother too. So Ravens.
So again, if the lower hits, we'll now be 5-6 on the consensus, and that's maybe the best we've been all year.
So if Lamar has Derwin and Herbert, we're giving them Chargers too, because he has more Chargers than he has Ravens.
Oh, he has Lamar and he has Derwin. But wait a minute, I'm up by. Oh, okay, he's not playing against Herbert. He has all 3 of those players. I'll say okay.
No. I read it.
I understand now. I missed the and. Okay, the other and. So okay. Oh no. Lamar versus Derwin and Herbert.
Yeah, versus Derwin. He has.
Okay, I totally missed up where the versus and the and was. Okay. I mean, I don't know that Derwin makes up 12 points of difference between Lamar and Herbert. Maybe he does.
I don't think he does, but okay.
He's got Lamar though, right? So wouldn't that?
Yeah, he's got Lamar. So.
And I don't know where anything is, Jamie. I know I'm in Canada, and that's about it. I don't know. There might be. I assume there's Disney's in Europe, but I assume American commercialism has infected the whole world. So I assume there's Disney.
Yeah, there's a Disney in France.
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure
What
it's
a
LA.
revolution. But yeah, I don't know where Disney is. Like, I mean, I know there's some there's a Disneyland and a Disney World, and
Yep.
they both seem like they're the same thing. So I really don't know what the difference is between them.
One's in California and one's in
Well,
Florida.
I get that, but there's Disneylands and Disney Worlds all over the world. So like, what is the difference between them though? Because that is what everyone tells me. One's in Orlando, one's in Anaheim. But like
I think
structurally,
it's the rides. I think that one concentrates on movies and one's like more like a amusement park, just a straight up amusement park. Like
okay,
one
it's
has the
more like
characters,
classic Mickey Mouse stuff.
yeah, versus
Star Wars and
thank you.
Baby
Yeah,
Yoda and anything else that's cool on Disney.
yeah. I'm against amusement parks, so I've never been, but I have friends that go annually. Why I don't know. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I've been to Canada's Wonderland enough times. I'm good.
Canada's what?
Canada's Wonderland. It's an amusement park in Toronto. I think it's the biggest amusement park in Canada.
Is it called Canada's Wonderland?
That's what it's called. Yeah,
How big is it?
big enough to be the biggest amusement park in Canada. Now
Yeah.
there is a mall in Edmonton that has an amusement park in it. That's the biggest mall I think in North America. But I'm pretty sure Canada's Wonderland is the biggest amusement park in Canada.
Wait, hold up. It's the biggest amusement park in Canada. All right, so does Canada have a lot of amusement parks?
Probably not, to be honest. I don't
Okay.
think it's probably way smaller than most like good American amusement parks, but it's big for Canada, man.
All right, and then Edmonton has an amusement park inside a mall.
The
Yeah,
West
I think.
Edmonton Mall is apparently the biggest mall in North America. Like
Oh,
size structurally.
oh, okay. Because
In
I know that
Edmonton, like it's not even the biggest city in Alberta. It's weird, but it's there.
the Mall of America, I think, has an amusement park inside of it too.
I think like that's in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
basically the equivalent of the West Edmonton Mall. It seems like they're almost essentially the same thing.
I wonder if they're the same owners. Okay. Anyway,
Everything's owned by the same person. There's one person that owns
exactly.
everything
Owns all
anyway.
of
We
it.
don't, and they're so rich that we don't even know who they are.
Yeah, I don't care to know who they are.
That's my conspiracy theory for the day. It's not a conspiracy theory draft. It's a
What
game. We're talking about Ravens and Chargers. But
who
yeah,
did you pick? You picked the Chargers?
so I'm going Chargers. One of the things I looked at, I think I told you this before the show, Gladys, but I'll repeat it for the viewers. It's information for them. So Ravens as 2.5 point favorites. They've
Okay.
covered that 7 out of 4 games or 7 games this year, and they failed to do so in 4 games, which some of them they've just flat out lost. In fact, I think most of them are just flat out losses for them because they tend to just when they win, they win by more than 3. Like they tend to just cover that total. But then the Chargers, at the same token, they've only lost 2 games by 3 or more points this year. So they're also not they're preventing teams from making that spread cover. And I think, like you were saying, I think it's kept close enough between the brothers. Like they know each other's tendencies, so I don't think one can truly like dominate the other. Like it's going to just be close the whole time, and it feels like it's if the Ravens do win, they are going to fail to finally win a game by more than 3 points. It'll maybe be a 1 or 2 point win, I think, or flat out Chargers win. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers as home underdogs here.
All right. I'm still sticking with the Ravens. 2.5 points.
Yeah.
Is 2.5 points.
For sure.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think of the 3 picks, it was definitely the hardest to make this week.
Yeah.
And again, that's because I'm automatically going with Canadian players for the props, but like those 2 were pretty easy. This was to me where the whole decision lied, and it was pretty close. I think there's compelling reasons to go with the Ravens, but
the weird thing is though, I think if the Ravens win, it would be higher.
it could go higher than 50.5.
Yeah.
For sure, the Chargers want to win that grind out defense way that
Right.
if they win, it's going to be a 20 to 17. Like that's what the Chargers are trying to win by.
Yeah. So my pick doesn't make logical sense, but I'm sticking with it.
But I mean, the Ravens could still win, and it's still like it's 48 points, it's 49 points, right? Like that could definitely happen. Or there's a scenario where the Ravens just blow them out, right? And the Chargers score so little that the game over under doesn't hit. At least
When's the last time they met in the Super Bowl? That was the last time they met as brothers on the playing field, right?
I do think so.
It was like high scoring game, but it was a different team. But yeah, I don't see the Ravens blowing them out. I don't see, I mean, like what Johnson, like Dan Campbell and Johnson, like I've heard people say, like they play with their food. Like they don't mind blowing teams out. They don't care who the teams are. Although my theory is that Johnson blows teams out on when he plays against a team that needs a head coach because it's like his resume. It's like he's auditioning for it. So, like anytime he's playing, for instance, this week when they play Chicago, I fully expect it to be a pass-oriented game where they just put their foot on Chicago's neck because Chicago needs a head coach and he's auditioning for that, and I think he would be really great in Chicago. But I don't see either Harbaugh, doing that. Like I don't.
They don't want to humiliate their brother, right? They want to
Yeah,
win,
they'll
but
win, but they're not.
they'll
Gonna,
win with the defense, and that's why I think either way.
Yeah.
Feels like the lower is the safe pick to make either way you're leading. Is basically what
Yeah,
I'm
so I'm gonna
so I
go
think
lower.
I think you're totally fine
Okay.
going Ravens lower. It doesn't not
Ravens lower.
like there's logic behind it for sure. And yeah. One is the size of the world. Disneyland, Disney World, right? Yeah, okay. Thanks, Jamie. Apparently, I'm just looking up stuff on Canada's Wonderland. Apparently, it in 2019, it was the most visited amusement park across North America. 3.9 million guests. And I think part of it, though, is there's so few amusement parks in Canada that every Canadian is going to go there. Whereas in America, there's like an amusement park that's like worth it in every state. So
in
like,
every state.
not everyone, you don't have to all leave to go to one spot, even though
Mhm.
like obviously Disneyland in Orlando, Disney World in Anaheim, or whatever, vice versa. I can't remember. Like those seem to get more attraction, but not like there's still enough everywhere else that like they don't get the full concentration. Whereas everyone goes to one.
Yeah, there's every.
We have so little in Canada. The one things we do have that are important, it's like super well attended. So I guess Jamie started talking about player props, so we may as well also get into that. So we said we're going to give Dan the Ravens, right? Because he has Lamar in that league that he talked about.
We're giving Dan the Raven and higher. I think we said.
I said we're all going to go lower, right? Just to give us
Okay.
the consensus pick. So we're all unanimously going lower. Why go higher on a 50.5 over under? When again, like these two teams are both really good defensive-minded teams, even though one head coach is a special teams coordinator, the other one's a former quarterback offensive coordinator, but like they both prioritize defense just as much.
I don't think I even know Dan played in season-long fantasy, quite honestly.
Dan?
I'm surprised. Yeah.
I think he's gotten out of most of his fantasy leagues. He wants to just play underdog prop betting. He seems to just want to focus on that. Best ball drafts, like that's where he's at. That's why he left the FBC Dynasty League. It seems like you mentioned he's just less interested in lineup fantasy football.
So this is best ball, you think, that he's up by 12? No,
I mean, I don't know if he's left every single league.
Oh, okay.
I think he might have kept a few that are key important ones, but I think he wanted to rid himself of most of them.
Oh, that's the one with his Aussie friends then, probably?
Probably. Like I think, I don't know how many leagues Dan is. I'd guess maybe 5 that he's like lineup leagues that he's kept just because these are the ones I'm prioritizing.
I have Lamar.
But yeah. Talking player props though, Jamie's saying reception line on Mark Andrews is 2.5, and he's taking it over. I think that does seem pretty safe, to be honest. Derrick Henry's reception line is half a reception.
I think Dan is taking Lamar over higher than his passing yards.
Right. True. Just because he has Lamar in fantasy?
Yep.
Okay, what is Lamar at in terms of?
I think it was 250, but let me check.
Yeah, and I mean the other one too is touchdowns. I know like Dan's gone the touchdown props a few times already. 3 times this year.
So
he's also
Lamar,
actually he's taken a lot of pass yard props too this year.
235.5 is Lamar.
35.5.
And his
actually we've had the Ravens before. You know what? With last time we had the Ravens, he went with Lamar. He didn't do Lamar straight up pass yards. He went with the rivals with Baker.
Right.
He actually didn't hit it. And I think if he had gone Lamar just straight yards, he might have hit it. I think Baker just had a super they were behind so much they just had to throw the ball, and so the yards didn't hit. But yeah, there's evidence to the last time we had a Ravens game, Dan went with a Lamar prop, so that would make sense to Lamar passing yards. That makes sense for Dan, right? You said 235.5?
235.5, yeah.
Higher. Okay. Yeah, because I'm looking at some of the things Dan's taken before. Geno Smith, What was this? This was Seahawks Lions week 4. He went Geno over 250.5 passing yards. And that hit. And he did well with that one. What else did he do? Russell Wilson against the Giants. Remember the Steelers-Giants game? He took Wilson's passing yards there higher, and he got it. He's gotten passing yards lower a couple times as well. Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen. But again, the one time he's had Lamar Jackson, he went with the Lamar Jackson positive in going higher on Lamar. Even again, that was a rival, so it's not exactly that. Chargers allow on average 5.2 receptions to running backs and 31.9 receiving yards. But that is for all running backs, right? Like that would be like to Henry and Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell, not just to Henry. But to that point, it's only half a reception, right? So you see why Jamie's going with those low reception props. Andrews at 2.5 catches higher, and Derrick Henry with half a reception higher. So we've talked about everyone else's props. Gladys, do you want me to share mine, or would you like to go with yours?
You can share yours. I'm trying to see if there's what the rivals is for him. So you go.
I guess because I was going to ask you to look up Tavius Robinson. Again, he's a Ravens defensive tackle because I wasn't able to find any lines on him, but there might not be any.
Tavius Robinson, he has over a half a sack, higher or lower.
That's it. Yeah, that he's only had a sack in 3 games this year. So one game he had 2 sacks. So it seems like matchup dependent.
Yeah,
that one's and that failed with Hoach, the Rams defensive tackle. So when I saw this line and when I looked it up, I thought I'm probably going to go with this anyway. And yeah, based on that, I'm definitely going Josh Palmer higher than 33.5 receiving yards. He's played 9 games this year. He has hit the higher than 33.5 6 times and only failed to do so 3 times. 2 of those times were his first 2 games of the year, and I believe that was him coming off an injury. There was a bye week. Since then, he's gone 6-1 in terms of hitting higher than 33.5. So Palmer's been doing it often. He's a Canadian, so I got to trust the Canadian kid. Again, he's six times this year. He's more than doubled the amount of times, or he has doubled the amount of times he's gone over 33.5 relative to going under. And again, 2 of those times came before, I think just after his injury or just before his injury with a bye week. A lot of time has passed, and since in the last 7 games, he's gone 6-1 in terms of higher than 33.5 yards. So feels like it's a good, strong bet that I can trust the Canadian with some confidence here. Josh Palmer higher than 33.5 receiving yards.
Okay. Quentin Johnson lower than 3.5 receptions.
Okay, interesting, because he is a big play guy, so he could still have a good fantasy game with only 3 catches, right? And then you could still
he's had his last 3 games he's had 2 receptions, 2 receptions, 4 receptions, and it's been on 8 targets, 2 targets, 2 targets. He's going to get a touchdown, but the touchdown prop was first touchdown, not anytime touchdown. Mm-hmm. So I'm not doing that because I don't know who's going to get the first touchdown, but he will get a touchdown. But he hasn't 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 divided by 3. He's averaging 2.5 receptions a game for the last 3 weeks. Yeah. And at home, he's averaging 2 receptions a game. His 4 reception was actually on an away game. So
they have the advantage. Here you go. Jamie added Josh Palmer just to get some Canadian flavor in there. Added Palmer at 25 plus passing or receiving yards to the parlay at minus 239. So it's minus 239 for the normal line, but you add it to a parlay, and he's probably getting. You throw it into a parlay, you're going to get positive odds with a bunch of those things. That's Jamie's way, right? He's going to take alternate lines on a bunch of things. If you put them all together in a parlay, you get plus odds.
Wait. So both you and I are taking Chargers for our props?
Sorry.
You took Palmer, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Both of us. Yeah, we're both taking Chargers receivers. So you're going. You said 3.5 receptions lower, though, right?
Yeah. Lower than
That's your first lower of the year.
I know.
And I got to say, we've all been hesitant to do it. I've only done it once. Dan has picked the lower twice. So 3 times combined this year, we've gone with the lower. We've hit on all 3. Now, we all went quarterback lower. So this is the first time someone goes lower on something other than a quarterback, which will be interesting.
And I like it. Defense that really, really is pass funnel. So it's a risky bet, but
For sure, but again, the way Johnson catches, they might view him and use him in a successful way that only involves 3 catches because he's taking the longer
yeah,
stuff. Whereas McConkey, maybe even Palmer and Disley, certainly they're getting the more volume of catches and they'll hit that
I
type of
need
over. But
Disley to get volume. I need Disley to get. I think I have McConkey too in a league. How did I get McConkey? Oh, yeah, I need Disley and McConkey to get lots and lots of volume and
was it a
lots.
dynasty league? Maybe you got him in the rookie draft.
No, it's on an ESPN league that.
Okay.
Yeah,
He was a good cheap play to get in redraft because of how many targets he's gotten.
Yeah,
Definitely paid off his value.
I think there was like one league I took just like a shit ton of rookies. I don't know why. I just did. I looked Marvin Harrison, who hasn't done diddly. I have him. I think that's the same league I have McConkey in. But I sat Harrison play McConkey this week, so let's hope that works out for me. We'll see.
Fingers crossed. Hello,
Fingers
Albert. We're here talking about the Ravens Chargers game tonight. I
Hey,
just want to
Albert.
confirm with you, Gladys, because I'm looking at the inactives, and the big one for the Ravens is Roquan Smith is inactive.
Kyle Hamilton's playing.
Kyle Hamilton will be in though. Yes.
Then we're good.
So I guess we'll recap Albert, so you know what we're missing. I mean, it's kind of the time we'd recap it anyway. But for all our picks tonight, going again, Ravens are road favorites by 2.5 points against the Chargers, and the higher lower on the game is set at 50.5, which, as mentioned earlier in the program, this is the highest higher lower we've had on Monday Night Football yet this year. And I think the previous highest was the Ravens game. Yeah, Ravens Buccaneers were 49.5. We also had Rams Dolphins at 49.5. A few weeks. That was just a couple weeks ago. That was like the return of all those guys, like Puka and Cup coming back finally. With all that in mind, I mentioned Gladys is taking the Ravens. I'm going on the opposite side with the Chargers. I got to say, though, I think it's probably the decision that was the hardest for both of us. Would that be fair to say, Gladys, of all the 3 things we're picking today?
That is fair to say.
Easier to go on the lower, say, at 50.5, which we're both going to do.
Yes. And then Dan is going, although he doesn't know it, Dan is going higher. And he's
I think we said we were going to go lower for him, so we could all be together on that one.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah. I thought so. I thought that's what we agreed on. We're not going to give Dan the higher on this one, right? At 50.5. That seems unfair. That seems a little mean. Now you're trying to get ahead of him in the contest, so I can see why you're.
I think it's unfair that he's. Oh no, I didn't need to cheat to get ahead of him. I think it's unfair that he's in Disneyland, jumping off Space Mountain and asking us questions. That's unfair.
To be fair, it was just one question, so he only asked one question, not questions plural. Yeah.
It was a compound question.
Fair enough. It was a long paragraph. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're gonna go all of us lower. It'll be I guess this will be our 11th consensus pick, whether we're picking the spread or the higher lower, and we all do it the same week. So far, we're 4-6. After starting the year 1-5, so we've actually hit, I think, 3 of our last 4 consensus picks. So I mean, we've been doing better at it lately, I suppose. So maybe some good luck here for the lower. Again, Gladys and Dan both taking the Ravens. I'm going with the Chargers. But again, that was maybe the toughest thing to pick this week. As for player props, Dan's going to go with Lamar Jackson. So it's full Ravens. Taking the Ravens against the spread. Lamar Jackson higher than 235.5 passing yards. We're kind of guessing. Dan mentioned he has Lamar in a fantasy league. So maybe there's some good juju there. And then also, the last time we had a Ravens game on the show, week 7, Dan did pick a Lamar Jackson prop. So last time this was there, he went with Lamar. I could see him also making that same argument this time. So that's where we decided. And then whereas Gladys and I were both going with Chargers receivers and receiving props. I'm taking Josh Palmer, the Canadian. Got to go with my Canadian props. Higher than 33.5 receiving yards. On Canadian player props, I'm pretty sure I'm 3 for 4 right now. John Mechie, Theo Johnson, and Benjamin Saint-Just all hit their props for me. The only one who hasn't is Michael Hocht, a Rams defensive tackle. I went with the sack prop, and he did not get a sack in that game against the Dolphins. That's the only Canadian so far that I have failed to hit on. So hoping to go 4 for 5 here with Josh Palmer. Gladys going her first lower prop of the year, lower on Quentin Johnston's receptions of 3.5. No, sorry, Jamie just sent this. 11 leg parlay at plus 700. I'm guessing Jamie wants me to read it off. Introducing Jamie's 11 leg parlay prop of the week. 11 legs? This guy's crazy.
You just echo yourself.
Yeah, I know. I'm weird. So a couple players higher than 25.5 receiving yards. Quentin Johnston, Will Dissly. I think he had Josh Palmer in there as well. Mark Andrews. Yeah, so all three of those players higher than 25.5 receiving yards. Quentin Johnston, Will Dissly, Mark Andrews. Also have Zay Flowers and Lad McConkey both at higher than 40 receiving yards. He's got the alternate total over 38 points. Ravens on an alternate spread at 7.5. Justin Herbert, 200 plus yards passing. Lamar Jackson plus 175 yards passing. And then in addition to Mark Andrews' receiving line, Jamie mentioned these already in the chat. He's going with Andrews higher than 2.5 catches, Derrick Henry higher than half a catch. And it's plus 700 for that 11 leg parlay. Good luck. Ravens plus 7.5, not minus 7.5. Yeah, Ravens plus 7.5. Like, I definitely don't think the Chargers are going to win by 8. So
no.
that one does seem pretty safe. These alternate lines, and yeah, higher than 38. I imagine they will go higher than 38. Yeah, that's the game. We got 8 minutes left before kickoff.
Yes.
Anything else you want to talk about, Gladys? Anything in the chat as well? Any questions, things for fantasy? Let us know.
No, there's nothing I want to talk about except that I just need good games on my side and bad games on the other side from a league. All right, so in this league. Oh, wait, I'm up in that league. Oh, but he has Lamar. Wait, no, he doesn't. Why? He has Dobbins and Dissly. Fuck, I don't have anyone in it. I lied. I do not have anyone in this league playing. You know why? Because I played Gino. Damn it. I was so sure that Gino would have a good game.
You know what? Jamie was too, because we talked about that on Sunday morning. He was definitely picking Gino in some of those start decisions.
And I said Tua, 36 points. Oof. Damn it, Tua.
I did sit Tua for Baker in a league. Still going to win anyway, I think. I mean, Lamar could go nuclear and maybe I'd lose, but it would have to be pretty nuclear.
So in this one, he has Herbert, I have Lamar, and I'm down 30 points. That's not good. I also have the kicker, though. Not good. Because he had Packers defense scored 31 points yesterday. Freaking frack.
Yeah, they had I think they had 4 turnovers.
They are like leading. Oh, he has Flowers too. What the shit?
4 turnovers and I think some sacks as well. So
they are like one of the top 5 scoring defenses. I tried to pick them up, could not. Someone else grabbed them before me.
Yeah, so my opponent. Okay, so yeah, my opponent has Lamar, Kyle Hamilton, and Dayan Henley from the Chargers.
Okay.
But they need 47 points, and I do have Derrick Henry still. So
who do they have? They have Lamar.
And 2 IDP players: Kyle Hamilton and D Henley.
Kyle Hamilton.
Not Don Henley, although from California. He's not for the Eagles though.
But you have Henry, and you're up by how much?
47 right now.
Oh, okay.
I think I should be good, but like
I think you should be safe.
Lamar is one of those guys like you could just have a 50-point week, right? Like that might scare me. Right, yeah. Jamie was talking about this prediction, and I thought about that too. The Packers went even higher than the prediction. I thought they were going to kick a field goal to go to 34 points and you were going to get a perfect. Then they went for it on 4th down and actually scored a touchdown on that drive to score 38, but it was super close. This like numbers whiz, I think like before the Super Bowl predicted the Packers 49ers game was going to be 34-17. I
Mhm.
bet if Purdy plays, they probably do score 17 points. Maybe the Packers get scared and have to kick that field goal, and it ends up being that exactly. It looked like it was going to be set up for that. So that numbers dude is pretty wild. If you've seen some videos, there was a videos with him with the Bills doing some number exercises with Josh Allen, and like how this guy knew, which teammates Josh Allen would throw the football to. Like he somehow knew, just in like a meeting room. It was super cool. It's like Chris Angel with numbers, so it's like way cooler. And like cool looking magic tricks. It's numbers, man. Numbers.
Wouldn't that just be statistical trends that he's doing? No.
Yeah, but like how he would predict, like he knew exactly. He had a page under the seat put there before the seminar started, knowing that Josh Allen would throw that pass to Dawson Knox. It's like, yeah, he clearly is looking at stuff and knows stuff, and like, no, Josh, just pick any random teammate, picks Dawson Knox, and it's like, oh, the paper said, like, what? Yeah, some cool videos. Numbers are cool. I'm a nerd.
Numbers are cool, and you are a nerd.
I love numbers so much that I'm in some salary cap contract leagues, and there's one that right now I'm 7-4. The division leader, my friend Akili, is 9-2, but is going to lose this week. It looks like anyway. He's down by quite a lot. He's got, what has he got left? He has Dobbins and Flowers, but he's down by like 62 points.
Oh.
I have a hard time thinking he's going to catch up as much as I love Akili. Sorry, dude. And to be fair, I'm hoping he doesn't, because if I can win this week, I will then be one game behind him with 2 games to go for that potential division win and first round bye. And I do think I've got a head-to-head win against him this year. So if I can tie him and have that head-to-head, I might be able to get that first round bye, actually. I need Derrick Henry to score 4 points. It's almost like so low that it's like, oh, it's no-brainer happen. But like I take nothing for granted in fantasy football. So
no, you can't take anything for granted.
Like, the only reason I'm in this position is because Barkley scored like 44. Like, why did Barkley have to have all those yards?
Oh my God!
3 less points, and then I'd be no stress. Now I've actually been like thinking about it all day, and like because I have Jalen Hurts too. So like one of those Barkley touchdowns took away yards from Jalen. Like if he doesn't score that, maybe that gives me points to Jalen, and I'm past it. And so
yep, I needed Jalen to score a lot more points than he did.
Turns out what did I do lineup wise? Like, did I make a mistake? Yeah, I guess I should have played Trey Tucker over Demarcus Robinson, actually. The touchdown didn't bail me out. That would have, don't think that would have won me the week, but then I'd be at like 1 point. I think I should be fine, but yeah, this is, until he gets that first, once he gets that first touchdown, the stress is all gone. But like, let's go get those 30, 40 yards quickly in the game, please.
Oh, everyone, don't forget, set your lineups early. Thursday game this week. 3 games on Thursday.
3 games. You
And
definitely
Friday.
want to
One game on
make
Friday.
sure your lineup's set Wednesday night, and check, and then you're checking in Thursday just in case someone, like if there was a questionable player, they're out. But I know with, again, being in 18 leagues on Sundays, like I don't really love, like I love having all my decisions done Saturday, and maybe like 1 or 2 things I'll ponder Sunday morning. But like I want that decided so that when you wake up Sunday morning, it's just execute. Okay, I've decided if this questionable player's out, I've already decided who the replacement's going to be. I've already kind of mapped out those decisions, and it's just literally setting them in place, seeing who's active, who's out. It feels like you want to approach Thursday like that. Like you want to have things set and get those Thursday players out of your flex spots. Now, I mean, if you're playing 3 wide receivers that are all playing Thursday, naturally one of them will end up in your flex or something like that. That's fine, but like, don't put a player in a flex spot if there's their positional spot open, because you want that flex spot for the Monday games as late as possible.
Who's Monday this week?
Next week we get the Broncos and the Browns. So Jamie, would love to have you on the show next week.
That's the Monday game? Oh, there had to be a flex game, right?
Oh, never mind.
Yeah. No.
Dan's actually changing all of his picks. So he's going higher. He's going Chargers, and he's going with Lamar, but rushing yards.
Dan. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. 6:15 game time start. And it went back down. Damn it. Okay.
I guess we're not all going lower on the 50.5. So we'll see, Dan. Lamar
I think I said that. Did I not say that?
You kept saying it. I thought we had agreed lower, but you were totally right the whole time.
Dan
I
is
mean, you did go
just
Chargers though, but yeah.
crazy.
Lamar higher than 40 rushing yards, which would also help his fantasy team. And
40?
everyone else who has Lamar Jackson. So,
Okay.
a lot of fantasy matchups are still Daniel Jones just eliminated Raiders from his list.
I don't know why he would go there anyway. Like,
Well,
and plus,
again, I think he'd only go there because like he wants to play football. Like where because I mean anywhere else he's going to just be a backup or a third string safety anyway. So like
not if Purdy's hurt.
sure,
will-
yeah.
if
Well, again
Purdy-
though, but Shanahan isn't going to trust the system to a new guy coming off the street if he wouldn't let Josh Dobbs be the starter after like being there for 9 months. Right? Like so I don't think the 49ers want Daniel Jones. To be honest, no one should really want Daniel Jones. That's why I thought the Raiders cuz like if he like Daniel Jones is a list of teams. How many teams on that list of his that he wants to go to actually want him? Right? Like that might be the thing. Like there's a chance he might just sit out this year because the teams he wants to go to don't want him, and vice versa.
Okay, so
Like Tannehill, right? Like
but
Tannehill
people
seems
always
like
say that about Sam Darnold too, right? And it just depends on the coach and where he goes. I mean, I think he can be good depending on where he goes. Shanahan, I don't know. Shanahan sucks. He lies.
well, that's the thing. Like
honestly.
I don't think he's incapable of running the Shanahan system. I just think Shanahan probably thinks that he doesn't want to trust it to a guy off the street. You've got to be here all year to know everything, which again is why he went with Brandon Allen, who's been in the system as a third stringer the last 2 years. Oh, he knows the system. Yeah, Josh Dobbs is way better than Brandon Allen. We've seen it in
Yeah.
the NFL, right? It's like there's no excuse. So, like, I definitely don't think he's going to the 49ers. Because, like, to be honest, if Purdy's out, they probably think they're just tanking it. Like, may as well, like, why force the issue? May as well just try and get a highest pick possible and go for it next year.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, they're not that far off from like leading their division, right? They're like a game
Right.
and a half back now or something. So it's not that out of the question. But again, like, if they really care about winning, why did Brandon Allen start that game? I just can't get that out of my head. And it feels like Shanahan's just going to start Brandon Allen the rest of the year because he knows the system for no other reason.
Probably. If
Yeah, you know what? Of course, the Raiders wanted him because as much as I rip on Daniel Jones, he's clearly way better than Aiden O'Connell or Desmond Ridder. Like, I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones fan, but yeah, he's like, yes, he's way better than Desmond Ridder. Like that much is very true. So yes, the Raiders should definitely want him. I guess he's just does he think that's a locker room? It's as much a disaster as the Giants, and that's why he wanted to leave the Giants anyway. He probably wants to go be a backup on a playoff team and maybe win a Super Bowl as a backup. The Giants way. That's like David Carr, right? Pretty sure David Carr is a Super Bowl ring was a Eli Manning's backup one of those years. Because David Carr wouldn't be able to win anything on his own because he wasn't that good of a quarterback. Heck, his brother's a way better quarterback, and that dude hasn't even won a playoff game, let alone a championship. So
yeah,
I mean, like, I don't know. Do you think I'm crazy for thinking that? Like that Derek Carr is clearly way better than his brother ever was?
Wait, which one's better? Derek?
I think
David?
Derek's better than David.
I don't ever remember David playing, so
he was with the Texans for a few years. I think part of it is that was his only chance to start. And he sucked so bad, then he was just a backup the rest of his time. Whereas I don't think Derek's ever been active in a game and not been the starter. It's been like the Daniel Jones thing where, okay, we're benching you completely for the injury, so you're not even the backup. You're straight to the third string. So, like, you're not active for a game that you're starting. Like, if you look at Derek Carr's career, he's literally started every game he's played. And I think that's a testament, right? Like if you're always good enough that like if you're healthy and active to play, you're the starter. That's never questioned. I mean, look what the Saints did, right? Like they refused to start Jameis when Derek was there. If no matter how poorly Derek played, the only time Jameis ever saw action was when Derek Carr got hurt.
Sorry,
now he's winning games with the Browns. But all these teams tanking. I mean, there's tons of teams that are like 2 wins, 3 wins. So the race for the first overall pick will be just as intense as the race for the first seed.
Hopefully, because I hope I have players playing on the other side of those teams. That would make me happy.
Fantasy football playoffs. I mean, again, Scott Fishbowl playoffs have already started this week. So yeah, the rest of fantasy football leagues playoffs are probably beginning within the next 2-3 weeks. So this is
Yeah,
that time of
and
year. Love it. Championships
need
are
to win
fun.
out in
Yeah.
2 weeks.
And speaking of this, I'm gonna hopefully get these picks right, extend my current lead on Gladys and Dan. Where's the totals right now? I'm at 24 and 18, and you're both at 18 and 24. So we're getting up now. I guess six points up on you guys. So I'm a full 2 weeks ahead of you. So it won't be long
Move this
before.
lead 18 yards. Kyle Hamilton tackle. I can take
There,
this.
hey, you love that, right? Points,
Exactly.
points.
Points.
Yeah. That
That's
happened to me with Jaden Daniels and Kavontae Turpin. Like it was two different leagues, but like Turpin and Scott Fishbowl, Jaden Daniels in my salary cap contract league. That touchdown at the I guess it was the second touch, not the long one to McLaurin, the touchdown before that. Goes and scores a touchdown to Ertz. Sweet points. Kickoff return touchdown for Turpin. Yay, more points. And then it also meant that like the Cowboys couldn't just like kneel the clock down. It went back to Washington and they scored a touchdown. More points. It was awesome. Love those sequences. Hopefully people get sequences like that tonight.
Yeah. Dolphins running. Yuck. Yuck.
All right. Well, thank you a lot. Thank you very much, Jamie, Albert in the chat, everyone else watching, listening. Thank you, Gladys. Great co-host. Thanks for enduring me for now like an hour and 20 minutes. You're a saint.
Oh, that I'm surely am not. Kyle, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Dan, jump. Just jump, Dan. Do it.
On the fun roller coaster thing that isn't going to injure. Yes. And I guess happy Thanksgiving. American Thanksgiving anyway. So yeah, I mean, are you? I guess you're not doing a show this Thursday. You said you'll be in a food coma, so no Thursday show. But Gladys and I will be back next Monday.
Yeah.
For the Broncos. What a great team. Doesn't matter who the other team is.
Yeah. Bye, Jamie. We'll see you Monday.
Yeah.
Good luck,
Jamie
you guys. Good luck, everyone, this weekend. Have a safe holiday. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving is one of the largest alcohol consumption days in the United States. Everyone be careful. Don't know why, it just is. Statistically speaking.
The internet froze on you. You froze up.
It's like
you said alcohol.
It's like third behind New Year's Eve and what was the second one? Oh, St. Patrick's Day. New Year's Eve, St. Patrick's Day, the day before Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Wow. Everyone's preparing for the next day, man.
Exactly. So everyone be safe. I will see you guys later. Bye.